to come in. If anyone's in from Univaults team, just raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Got a couple of minutes to go here, so we'll just get everyone into the VC and we'll be starting shortly.
Yep, I got the stream up and running as well. So once we'll get started, we'll have the recording available for anybody that can't tune in now, and we'll post that in our main chat. And we'll post all the socials, everything once we get the show started here. We'll get it going in a minute or so. Just waiting for the Univaults team to get in.
Okay, if there's anyone in from the Univaults team, just raise your hand. I can unmute you. Hi, Ape's in. DeFi Ape, how's it going?
Hello. How are you doing? Finally managed to make it, and just on time.
No problem, DeFi Apes. Yeah, great to have you on the show.
Brilliant. Yes, it's been quite a long day. We've had quite a lot of AMAs going on quite recently. So yeah, still got quite a lot to go. Whilst of course trying to get the platform up to scratch. So yes, very busy. Barely slept.
Yeah,
So. Yeah,
I imagine it's full on. Yeah.
The joys of running a protocol.
Okay, if you're ready, are we just speaking to you today, DeFi Ape, or is there anyone else I need to unmute?
No, I will be the only person here. Unfortunately, Molly couldn't make it today. She's my co-owner. She is currently still trying to set up the campaigns for post CX listings with Bitmart and P2B. So she's quite busy with their team. So I haven't actually seen much of her today either. So she won't be joining, unfortunately. So you do have the pleasure of having just myself today.
That's fine, DeFi Ape, yeah. Right, I'll start the recording if you're ready, and we can go into the Univaults project.
Absolutely. Ready when you are.
Good afternoon to the Welcome and Talk community. I'm Glenn, your host. Today we have joining us DeFi Ape. He's speaking on behalf of the Univaults project, co-founder. And Univaults is a decentralized lending system that allows users to lend, borrow, and earn interest on crypto assets. We'll be going into that and everything else around the project shortly. But first, can you introduce yourself with your background and experience, DeFi Ape?
Absolutely. So let me give a little bit of a breakdown of who we've actually got within the team to give a bit more of an overview with relation to who's actually running the project. So of course there is myself. And I'm the CEO and, of course, the co-founder, like I just mentioned. And I am in charge of essentially directing the project, making decisions in terms of where we're heading, what we're doing, laying out the plan, and of course the vision for the current time and of course the future. We Then have, of course, Molly, which I mentioned a moment ago. She's our co-founder. She has a background in business development. So what she does is she coordinates partnerships and not so much the integration side of thing, but seeks project with enough knowledge about them to be able to spot the right opportunities that would allow for us to integrate them into our ecosystem based upon a rigorous criteria. So she takes care of all of that side of things and some of the campaigns. So she's kind of involved in the marketing as well, a little bit. So she takes care of most of that side of things. We then have Steve, and he is our CFO. So what he does is he operates with the funds. He keeps an eye on where the funds are being allocated, where they're going, where they are being spent, how to optimize the spending, and does a bit of data crunching in terms of analytics and where to direct that budget where it can be best utilized. And then we do have the market maker, who is our lead developer, and he orchestrates a team underneath him that he has sourced over the years, which have a programming background. All of them are relatively fluent, I would say, in many languages. One of them is quite a Solidity. Or I would say his expertise lies purely in Solidity, and he has worked on a few projects before, and so he orchestrates all of them. So that team is underneath him, so it's not part of our core team. However, that whole system of the developers lies with him. So there is 4 core members. We have recently outsourced a pink cell verified developer as well to come on board and help us out with some of the website UI designs for the D apps. He is by nature a D app developer, back end and front end, so he does the smart contracts also. So whilst our team is busy developing, of course, the back end of things, he has jumped on board to give us a hand with some of the UI designs, and he has done so in a very creative manner. We are very happy with what how he's brought that into fruition in such a short period of time. So we also have 2 graphic designers on the back end as well, and we do have 3 shill leaders currently in our shill army. So, I mean, in terms of the core team, there's 4 of us, but there's other people working alongside us as well. So all in all, there's probably around 12, 13 people working in parallel on the project.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, DeFi Abe. That's great. Telling us all about the core team as well. Some people just tell us about themselves, so that's great to get a better understanding of the whole team around Univaults. So yeah, if we can just maybe start for the community investors around the Univaults project, an introduction, that'd be great.
Absolutely, and the way I have actually led out the last few AMAs have actually worked really well. So basically what I've done is I have broken down the Univaults overview, or the best part of it, shall I say, in 3 segments. So the first segment is talking about what we are and how the average user can benefit, and where exactly we stand in the DeFi space and in the market, and how the average user can utilize our platform and our financial products. Second of all, we go into a little bit about some of the competitors and what makes us unique. So the things that we'll be bringing out that do differentiate us from the market. And then third of all, I like to get into a little bit more into the actual apps, the ecosystem, what each one is used for, and a little bit more talk about the technical side of things. So let me start off by saying, explaining, shall I say, what actually is Univaults. So Univaults is a decentralized lend and borrow. It's a money market basically, and it is run in a decentralized fashion, much like you can, based upon your credit, go into a bank and get out a loan. The Univaults ecosystem and platform allows for a market shall I say, to be created, where there is two separate types of participants. One will be the borrowers, and the other one will be the investors who provide the liquidity. The coin is the money to be able to borrow from. Now, the easiest way to describe this is there's two parts as well to it. So there is the collateralized loans. So collateralized loans are where a user would deposit something like a coin, for example, that they want to hold on to. So the example I always use and still carry on using is, say, for example, you hold a Bitcoin. You have a few Bitcoin and you don't want to get rid of them. Okay, so for simplicity's sake, let's make it one Bitcoin. So you don't want to get rid of it because you know at some point in the future, eventually Bitcoin will touch that 100K mark. Maybe it might be, a few more years until the next bull run until that happens. But quite frankly, you're holding a Bitcoin and you want to hold it. You don't want to get rid of it. So you're left in a predicament. Something's gone wrong. You have some expenses to pay for that you weren't aware of. And the only access to funds you have is to be able to sell your Bitcoin. Now, you don't want to do that. So this is where our pools come into play, right? So our pools then come into play where you can deposit that one Bitcoin as collateral. So you're not getting rid of your initial assets, and you are then able to borrow the a quite reasonable, but a little bit lower of a rate of what Bitcoin's worth. So say it's worth right now, let's round it up to $16,000. You deposit your Bitcoin, and our pools, which are topped up by our lenders, will give you in return something like 80-75% based upon the coin in terms of USDT or BUSD or USDC. Now, whilst you get that out in terms of the loan, you have access to your free funds, right? So over the next few years, of course, the Bitcoin price increases, and eventually when it stands at, say, $100,000, you are able to not only repay your loan, but you are then left with profit in addition to having the initial money that you took out as the loan. So it's a vehicle that you can park your assets in. And by assets, I mean coins, tokens that you believe will go up in value, and you'll be able to borrow and free up your capital and make it fluid for you to be able to use and spend without actually having to gets rid of the underlying asset by having to sell it. So the money market is very similar to a pawn shop. So you can go there and pawn your rings. You can go then, pawn your Xbox or PlayStation 3, and they will hold that for you up until you come back and repay the loan, whichever means you do that by. That asset will be held in place whilst allowing you to gain access to your capital. So that's pretty much, of course, what the basics of the pools and the money market is. Then, of course, we for the lenders, it's a very convenient way for you to be able to earn APY, but in a risk free manner. So say you have 100,000, and we'll keep that as a baseline number because it's easy to work with. You have $100,000 and you would like to earn some interest on that. So you deposit that into one of our pools and make that available as a loan. As people borrow and repay that, you get a very decent amount, and of course the percentages will vary for the different coins, the different tokens, their volatility indexes. However, from the lender's point of view, you are able to provide that. Now, when you provide that, your risk is mitigated, because if from a lender's point of view, the asset was supposedly to go down in value. So say, for example, the Bitcoins that total up $100,000 were to crash, and the person who borrowed 100,000, of course, had spent it, and then Bitcoin was to go down by 10-20%. That asset would then get liquidated with the interest that of the borrower, of course, taken into account, shall I say, as well. So it's completely risk-free. That asset would get liquidated, and the lender would get paid back his money and interest. Now, this is interesting because it allows for a much quicker APY yielding and much quicker returns for the lenders based upon the volume that goes through the pool. So say there is a lot of volume going through a pool, and you and a few others are the only lenders within that pool. Of course, you'll be getting back all of that interest at a very quick rate, based upon how quickly people are borrowing and paying that back. So the exact figures shall be calculated, of course, and be a bit more, shall I say, concrete once the system is, of course, running. So that is the basics of the money market. The second bit that I would like to go into, and once again I'll start off simple and build upon it, with the with flash loans, which is quite a relatively hot topic at the moment. With the flash loans that have been making their way into DeFi, and more of them are being used. The basics of a flash loan is that you are able to borrow capital from one of these pools with no upfront collateralization. So you don't need to put down anything to be able to access it. But the catch is you do have to pay that transaction back in one block. So say, for example, it is an arbitrage opportunity, and you would like to borrow 100,000 from, say, for example, Uniswap, and then you see, for example, Ethereum is standing at 1,100, let's just say, on Uniswap, and then on PancakeSwap it stands at a little bit more. It stands at 1,200. And of course, these aren't realistic figures. They are just for the purpose of the demonstration I'm trying to give. You are then able to borrow out a flash loan to buy out the Ethereum and Uniswap at a cheaper rate than PancakeSwap, then sell it off for profit, then pay back the loan within one block. Now, the trouble is these things are relatively complex. Unless you, of course, have a background in Solidity or programming, at the very least, they might be quite complicated for the average user to even be able to think about utilizing or even thinking about trying. And because there's a lot of variables, you have to include, the router addresses. You have to take into account mathematical calculations, taxes, exchange taxes, DEX taxes, liquidity provider fees. All of that can get a little too much for an average user that doesn't have any prior experience. However, a lot of people are trying to get into flash loans, and it is a hot topic, like I said. So what we are going to be building on top of that is a drag and drop builder for these flash loans to be able to, so that the average user will be able to create these transactions, these one block transactions, by choosing the exchanges, choosing the opportunities, loan amount, and our interface will calculate, the backend of our interface and our contracts will calculate exactly what's needed, what profit you would make, and so on. So that is that is an introduction into the main part of what we are doing. Do you have any questions before or anything you would like to ask before I move on to the competitors?
No, that's great. You're doing great, DeFi Ape. It's really nice to have someone in. Not all people come with a presentation and all prepared. I've got some questions wrote down because I did read the light paper. But yeah, if you want to go into the next phase, that's great for the community investors.
Of course. So the second part that I would like to go into is, of course, the competitors. Like, what are we doing that protocols that are currently in the market aren't doing, or what makes us different, for example, from protocols like Compound and Aave and DYDX. So there are a few notable differences. Of course, we do have some similarities in terms of the baseline of what we are doing. However, there is a lot of notable differences, and these differences being, first and primarily, we will be creating our system from the base up to actually target a lot of these small cap coins that Aave, for example, and Compound and DYDX have missed in their ecosystem, by only including the largest and most notable tokens to be able to lend and borrow from. Now, there is a huge market where there are coins, and by small cap, I don't mean 10k liquidity moonshots. That just wouldn't work. I'm still talking about 500,000 to maybe a mil in liquidity and very decent daily volumes, but they are still on the large scale small cap coins, and a lot of them aren't being listed, aren't being utilized by these protocols because, of course, they already have the market share of the bigger ones. However, if you were to total up how big the market is with relation to the smaller ones, you would see a slightly skewed distribution, of course, towards the bigger caps, but there is still a huge market share. to be capitalized on from these small cap coins. And so what we will be doing is first and primarily adding pools to coins that haven't been capitalized on just yet. However, that have strong communities, good volume, background where users could benefit from being able to pawn those assets whilst they wait for the value of them to go up and to be able to release some funds in the meantime. So it's a huge market that still hasn't been tapped into. Of course, the amount of work and adding all of these pairs will be slightly higher than adding the top 10. However, top 10 or 20 currencies to lend and borrow from. However, over time, the system that will be created will be just as efficient and eventually just as big as the top coins. So that is our first most notable difference that we will be that will Univaults will implement as opposed to other protocols. Second of all, I'm actually going to start off with a question for you. I don't suppose you've heard of a very attractive and hot new network that has just launched their own blockchain.
No, DeFi, but which one's that?
So I am actually talking about the TON network. TON network is the Telegram Open Network. Believe it or not, around just under 2 months ago, Telegram has bought out their own coin and their own blockchain that they have integrated into Telegram. So you now have a TON wallet. You can receive TON as payment. You can literally buy their own currency literally from your Telegram account. It's pretty incredible. And
Oh, cool. Yeah, I have heard of it because they were using the TON token to sell the usernames on Telegram, and they've made like 17, 18 million they've made from people buying usernames. They were all getting snapped up, and I think you had to use the TON token.
Absolutely. I do hold a few gems myself. I haven't listed them quite yet. Waiting for the right time until all the good ones are sold. Then, of course, once all the good ones are sold, then I think I'll drop a few. But yes, precisely that on the fragment.com website is where it's happening. But to talk a bit more about into detail about what's going on there. So they are still, of course, they've just launched and they're already in the billions of market cap. However, the chain itself is in infancy. And of course, a lot of people, due to the user base of Telegram, already know about it. However, there's a huge amount of people that are completely unaware of its existence, but they will be. And so everyone currently is rushing to build stuff. They have their own. It's almost like an iOS app store, or like a Google Play where you can download apps. It's really quite fascinating. Check it out when you get a moment in your spare time. But so there, everyone's rushing to build the apps and build markets on that. So, for example, the building exchanges, NFT marketplaces, the building staking pools, all sorts. And of course, I'm sure you remember, when Uniswap first came out, it was the first decentralized exchange in the space. And of course, everyone knows where it is now. Everyone knows who they are. Now, PancakeSwap was the most notable one, of course, on the Binance Smart Chain when they first came out. And look at how they are dominating the market as we speak. So what we are doing and will be first of its kind. We've actually dropped a lot of work at the moment with regards to bringing on board projects onto other chains, and we have actually stalled at the moment the development for the other chains in our ecosystem. We have around 9 chains we will be adding, including Solana, Polkadot, Cardano, all of the notable ones, BSC and F, of course, for the money markets. However, we have stalled development on all of them apart from BSC and Ethereum right now to actually build a money market on top of the TON network, to be the first money market and money market providers in that space, setting the baseline. So eventually, which I really do believe it will, based upon the user base and the clientele, we do believe that the TON Open Network will eventually be up there with Ethereum and BSC, just due to the amount of people that they have. Telegram has 700 million users, so registered users. That is a huge amount. That is just under, it's around like seven something roughly percent of the whole population, which of the world, which is huge. So we really believe that the Telegram Open Network, especially with what's going on in the world right now, people will start using their currency. The way that we're able to do this is, of course, because they're decentralized completely. Telegram is known for its security and decentralization, in a sense, so to speak. So the adoption will come, and I'm sure the coin will gain traction too. So for us to be building the first lend and borrow market on top of that network, we believe is going to be absolutely huge. Perhaps not straight away, but most certainly in the near future. And it is, of course, a lot of work because it's not as simple. The network and the contracts that are deployed in there are not deployed and written in Solidity, which is the main language for most developers. So we have actually had to allocate a few people over the last month and a little while, few weeks, perhaps give or take, to actually learn that language, their native language, to be able to build this. So really lot going on to try and bring this about and get it out there before anyone else. But I hope that you can see sort of the scale of what this could be, and the implications this, of course, could have down the line.
I think we might have lost you there, DeFi Ape.
Oh no! At what point?
Only yeah, about 5 seconds. I think we were just finishing up there. Yeah.
Yes. I was just saying. Hopefully, you can kind of, and the audience can see the implications of what we are trying to do here and what it could potentially be.
Awesome. It's been a great presentation up to now. You were saying about questions before. Yeah, if we could just maybe go back to the automated market maker, the decentralized exchange. You have stable or variable interest rates on there, and I was wondering what you think
Yes.
which is best to choose for the loan token for users. Users can switch between the two as well. I was reading on the light paper.
Yes, of course. So that all depends. There is a lot of factors that will go into it. So you can, based upon, of course, stable coins and stuff like that, you can choose. It can go both ways. Is sort of like the best way I can put it, without showing you completely a breakdown of how it works, is you can use, for example, leverage on central exchanges to put in trades, and if the asset goes up, of course you could gain a lot more. If it goes down, you could lose a lot more than you bargained for. So with the fixed interest rates is the same sort of scenario. Of course, the pools will have, each different token will have a different sort of allocated percentage based upon its performance and how much volume is going through that pool in and out, how many people are in that pool, how many people are participating in that pool. So each the percentages will change. So it'll be, I think I've actually found a better way to put it. So it's kind of like impermanent loss, for example, because these figures are fluctuating and the price of the coins fluctuates a lot. It will be like providing liquidity or a liquidity pair. You can gain interest from there. However, you can lose the value of the underlying asset as well with some of these. So there is factors, you know, that will affect that, of course, and it is just based really upon what pool you get into, whether you would like to do a fixed or the variable. They both have the ups and downs, and both have the benefits and disadvantages. For example, if you get the variable, then of course your loan amount will incur of course change in percentage with the pool activity. Whereas if you get the fixed, you will get that fixed rate that you know, of a certain payback percentage on top of your loan. So it depends on what you want to do, really, what pools you are getting into, and what coin, you know, the volatility of the coin, and exactly what you're trying to do, the duration of the loan, and so on. If you're taking out longer loans, sometimes you might want to look into, you know, the fixed rates, due to the fact that, of course, you know, the high volatility of the coins. However, if you use the short term, then perhaps, you know, the variable will be better for you because you get better rates. So hope that explains it.
I see, DeFi, and you've got low charges on the decentralized exchange, 0.15%, so that's great for the users, and some of that goes to the Univault treasury, them fees, and I'm wondering what you'll be using them for, or would it be like for marketing and development in the future?
Yes, essentially. So the fees are very, very small, of course. They're not so small when you're talking about bigger amounts, but yes, those will be going into our own treasury, and that will be allocated. Sometimes we'll, you know, add to the pools that are lacking funds, and distribute them accordingly to the system. Basically, everything's going to be run by our governance. We have an app especially for creating snapshots and pull requests from you know, our GitHub, and we will that treasury will be community based and community ran. So that will be votes will be more than 65% vote proposals will be passed. So whether it's marketing, whether it's partnerships, whether it's providing liquidity for UMVT and other places, for example, because we aren't doing a pre-sale on every single chain. You know, once it gets down the line to creating and adding more chains, adding more assets for either our native coin, or whether it be, you know, pools that are lacking liquidity but have really good volume, then of course we can supplement that. So it will kind of be the heart of the ecosystem, and the treasury will be used as the community and obviously the proposers vote for the changes.
I see, DeFi, that's great. And you've got the Univaults bug bounty program, that's rewards for devs or hackers, and you're also offering developers to build and host custom dApps on the servers as well.
Absolutely. So what we will be doing is we've got 2 audits at the moment for our contract. We have a consult and tech rate. However, of course, the scale of the system we are building, we will be looking at, of course, some more reputable and larger players in the game to audit the ecosystem. And that doesn't just mean the coin, we mean, of course, the apps, the functioning, the security. However, Later on down the line, before we make the protocol completely immutable and take hands off the wheels, of course, and give it over to everyone that we have, the community that we have created and the ecosystem. Until we make that immutable, we would like to make sure that absolutely everything is functioning as planned. And so we'll do, of course, a high level audit for the ecosystem, but also run the bug bounty program, which will give rewards based upon finding critical flaws or bugs and possible exploits. So they are pinpointed and squashed before the whole protocol goes completely decentralized. So just being an incentive for everyone that's working with us to really get into gear and try and secure the system to the best of ability.
Okay, great. And maybe we can go into the UNVT token. That's the governance token. It's got 0% buying, 0% sell, and you can have a DAO attached to it. I'm wondering what type of DAO you've chose. Is it based on tokens held? So how many votes investors get?
So yes, the one UNVT will of course be equal to one vote, and there is a lot of tokens that will be in circulation eventually, but there's quite a long lockup time for everything to get into circulation. So, but let's just base it on the total amount. So yes, there's 100 million tokens. All of those can, at some point when they become available, be used for the governance side of things. And basically how that will work is the proposals will get fed into the governance, the app, and people will vote based upon their their voting power and the voting rights for yes and no, and they will just be closed off based upon that that governance snapshot allocation for each one. So not everyone has to vote on a proposal or an upgrade. To keep things fair, we will have a minimum time for them to run, because we can't have proposals being put through, then one person voting 100% for everything to get passed without giving time for the rest of the community and the rest of the governance and the DAO to be able to pass these and see if this is something that we would like to implement. So there'll be time frames on how long these snapshots stay up for, and to give everyone a fair opportunity to see what's going on in the system, so that no rash, quick passes and decisions can sort of slide through and slip through the ecosystem's fingers.
I see, DeFi. And let's look, where was I? You've got the Univaults grants DAO as well. That's a grants program for developers. Could we go into details on that?
Absolutely. So the grants developer program, that is something that will become down in a little bit later down the line. So the best way to explain this is, we mentioned obviously the pools. We will create, of course, in a very similar way. I'm not too sure whether you heard of a coin. It's called the JIT coin.
Of it personally, but yeah.
No, so Gitcoin, we will work in a similar fashion to them, where of course we will propose projects to be funded out of basically some of pools. We have certain pools that will fund new startups. So we'll have a sort of, it's not quite a crowdfunding. I can't really compare it to anything that's out there currently, but the best way to put it, it will be a similar to a crowdfunding event, where it'll be sort of a crowdfunding slash angel investing kind of event where there'll be pools that will have a allocation where investors and angel investors and people will be able to put in their money as opposed to the general pools, and actually allow these pools to be used as funding for new and innovative startups. Now, there will be conditions and we will be contacting lots of exchanges to try and be able to integrate this into them. Not exchanges, should I say? My apologies. Launchpads to be able to integrate this into the systems, and it will be a fundraiser where our liquidity providers and our lenders will put in bits into a pool that then gets allocated into innovative crowd sell projects and developers that bring about good ideas or have proposals. Now, if we are taking projects into consideration, and then what we will be doing is we will be assisting, and this is a safety net, obviously, for our investors and our lenders. We will use those funds to run the marketing campaigns to a certain ability and a certain input, of course, with the teams or singular developers that proposed the idea, and keep an eye on the developmental side as well. So kind of oversee the project up until the pre-sale or the initial funding round is concluded. Whereas then the funds that are raised, a portion of that will go back to, of course, our lenders with a much higher interest rate than any of the pools can offer. So it will be a guarantee in a sense. It will be a grant, but it will be a repayable and grant, but it won't be repaid by the person who we are funding. It will be repaid by us. So it'll be a way to allocate funds to startups and developers that have great ideas and teams who have absolutely incredible ideas, but who lack the initial funds to even hold a pre-sale. Because of course, we say about holding a pre-sale, no one holds a pre-sale with zero initial funds. You can't just make a website, go onto PinkSale, go onto Impossible Finance, and present your website and expect to raise 1,000 BNB. That's just, it's not going to happen. So what our grants program will do is it will put in touch our lenders and angel investors with innovative startups and teams to be able to fund their project, but it will be mutually beneficial, not only for the owners that would never been able to create that project, create that pre-sale, but it will also be beneficial to our lenders, where they will get a much higher interest rate in the shorter period of time in terms of a return than they would from the pools.
Right, sorry, Mike was off there when I was speaking. So you've had a private sale, I think 8% of the tokens, but they're going to be vested. That I was reading that on the part of the tokenomics going to be going into how long that vesting period is for the private sale, and then we've got the fair launch coming in 2 days for investors
Yes.
to get involved.
There wasn't actually a private sale held. We decided completely against the private sale, and the corresponding 8% of tokens has been locked up into a vesting schedule, which will be start getting will get released in 2 parts, starting from the 24th of January, and then it will cycle, I believe it's 10 days after that, to release another 50% and other 50%. And those tokens that were supposed to be used for the private sale will in turn now be used for the second round of central exchange listings instead.
Okay, I see. And yes, so what's the minimum maximum contribution on the fair launch? And I wasn't sure, is there a vesting on the fair launch as well?
So there won't be no vesting on the fair launch. Too many people have complained about it. So there shan't be no vesting. And there, of course, there's a fair launch, so there will be no minimum or maximum contribution, as of course this is a governance token, and we are following the fair launch criteria that a lot of people have done in the past. So there won't be no minimum or maximum.
I see. And yeah, so let's go into the marketing. What's the marketing plans going forward? How are you looking to promote the DEX and promote the token going forward into the future?
Yes, so we are taking a bit of a different approach to what a lot of people we have spoken to and a lot of marketing firms we have spoken to are familiar with. So we have been corresponding with an incredible sort of ecosystem website slash team from DApp.com, which is the largest DApp listing site in the whole world, with the largest amount of products and in terms of DeFi being showcased in that sense to a huge audience. I believe they have around 1.5 to 2 mil daily visitors, very similar caliber to CoinMarketCap and sites like that, I would say. And they will be assisting us with it won't be so much a marketing campaign. We're going to call it a user acquisition campaign. So that site is based primarily on senior users, central exchange users, very notable exchanges such as KuCoin and FTX have actually advertised, and you can check that out under their campaigns that they have run for the user acquisition, and the amount of exchanges they have actually worked with to bring about liquidity in the beginning of these startups. These guys have been around for ages, and so we will be taking that approach. So it won't be so much the marketing for the token, it'll be for the platform. And of course, the more that people understand what the platform is, the more adoption that the governance will get. So we are taking a different approach to marketing, and we will be working, and Molly's already working alongside Bitsmart and P2B, which are both confirmed and will be listed on by the end of December. So she is working with those to actually bring about 2 more user acquisition campaigns partnered with these central exchanges, because if you evaluate the numbers and how much traffic these exchanges have, and the amount of users, and by users I mean huge whales that trade on centralized exchanges with really high ends amount of money, and the amount of users that these platforms actually hold, we believe is the best way to actually push our money market and product, but not only just push the money market and product, but to actually reel people in and get clients to be able to use our money market and provide these considerable amounts of liquidity that are going to be necessary to get the wheels into motion to a decent scale.
That's great. DeFi. Let's open up to community investor questions. We've got lots of hands up. Let's see, Syed, you had a question for DeFi Ape at Univaults. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Okay, so I've read on your white paper that borrowers receive funds in the form of the special token known as M token, and which is pegged to a value of another asset. So I was thinking that will users be able to stake their M tokens in the pools to which the value of the M token is pegged for earning passive income?
So the N tokens will be no the N tokens will be used as a guarantee. So when you stake, uh, this is for the lenders. So when you stake, for example, your USDT or your UNVT token or whatever asset you are providing and staking into the pools and providing liquidity for and supplying the loan amounts for, you will get a N token back. So you'll get a proportional amount, and that's kind of like an IOU ticket, and those tokens will be equivalent to what that is worth. So it'll be a placeholder for the amount of loan that you supply.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification. Over to you, Glenn.
No problem
Thank you for the
whatsoever.
question. Thank you for the question, Syed. Let's move to Aisha. You had a question for DeFi Ape at Univaults. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. So it's mentioned on your white paper that interest rates are changing constantly on Univaults and adapt depending on the utilization of Univaults liquidity pool. I want to understand, do the contract automatically adjust interest rates depending on utilization of Univaults liquidity pools, or interest rate is adjusted manually?
So it will be adjusted based upon algorithmically based upon the amount of volume that's going through the pool and how many people are staking. Much like in normal staking, the more people that enter the pool, the less the rewards people get. So it'll be based upon a similar fashion. You know, if you stake your cake tokens and you get your rewards. The more people that enter these pools, of course, the lower the emissions are because they have to be spread around more people. So this part will be algorithmic and be based upon how many people are using the pool and how many people are borrowing from the pool to give the emission and rewards.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for answering.
No problem.
Thank you for the question, Aisha. Let's move to Western Beast. You had a question for DeFi Ape at Univaults. Go ahead.
Okay, you've talked about your efficient loan management system. From the way you analyzed it, I noticed that you also have some experience in managing risk. Well, my question is actually centered around your risk management system because there are actually a lot of problems associated with different aspects of risk. Aside from you, that I sound to judge that you have some experience in managing risk. Do you have other risk management people on your team that manages and watches out for possible risks that may put the Universe project in jeopardy?
Of course, we will have a risk management. So for from a borrower's perspective, and risk management, say that you of course taken out a loan, however you don't want to get completely liquidated somewhere down the line, and you don't want to lose all of your funds. We will have safety nets in place where you'll be able to set a stop loss into the pool or and be based upon your collateral that you provided. So say you stake one BTC or as collateral, and then of course if the BTC doesn't move up, say it goes to move down, and you're over collateralized by your stake is you've got 75% out in USDC of what you put in. That means that a 25 price movement will completely in the loan will completely liquidate essentially what you have put in as collateral. But what we will provide is a way where you can put stop losses in place as well to be able to secure your loan. So basically, it will allow for a risk management of your loans as well.
If I was actually right when I said you did have some experience. Thanks for clearing this up. I'm happy that there are some safety measures in place. I'm wishing you guys the very best, and I hope that the Univaults project stays bullish onward. Over to you, Glenn.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you for the question, Weston Beast. Let's move to Venish. You had a question for DeFi Ape at Univaults. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Glenn. Actually, I was wondering, do you guys have any plan to also allow users to use NFTs as collateral and borrowing? If yes, then how do you guarantee that it will have the same performance with NFTs as stablecoins? Because I think anyone can create NFTs nowadays and can submit it as collateral and get some stablecoins in return, and it is possible that NFT has no value as compared to what they get as stables.
Yes, of course. There is a lot of controversy around that at the moment, and we are in a lot of talks about how we're going to implement that. We will be implementing that. We believe that we can bring about a of course it will be still very risky, and it will be a gamble. However, the only things that we will allow onto the platform is that we won't do any NFT staking. We will provide staking for only collections such as the Trip and Ape tribe, or punks, or reputable long reputable NFTs with a long history. And the second way we'll protect our lenders, of course, is we will not give out nowhere near as much, free up as much money. So say, you have a punk that's worth 1 million, you will most probably in that case only be able to take out 20% or 25% of its worth if you were to provide it into our pools. And reason being for that is before we add any NFT staking, we will determine the floor price, the average floor price, and this process will be done manually by us. This isn't something that we're going to allow to be done based upon random numbers and application. This will be a process that we add the NFT collections that we know have a stable price floor over the last year or so at least, or even longer, that we know have value, that we know have been traded and sold, and that have that demand. So if and when the borrower wasn't able to pay back that loan, we could list that NFT for at least at least 30-40% of its total value, solidifying the fact to us and to our lenders the fact that we would be able to then sell it back.
Okay, that's really great. I think that's a great idea to have NFTs as collateral, because people might be playing some game, and to clear a certain level they might need a certain NFT that they don't want to purchase or can't afford, and they just want to borrow that NFT. And I think it's a great idea. And it has challenges, but I hope you guys will solve all the problems. So thank you so much for answering all my questions as well.
Thank you very much, Venice. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and great question.
Thank you very much for the question, Venice. Unfortunately, we've run out of time today, but if anyone's got any questions after the AMA, we've got the main socials, the official ones in our chat. So you can just head into there, and if you've got any questions, I'm sure the team will answer any questions. If you want to join their Telegram. Wellcoin Talk, as we always say, is for research and educational purposes. It's not financial advice, but you can check out the website, the white paper, the official socials. Like I say, they're in our main chat, and that's what we recommend for community investors. Do your research, and if you like what you see, yeah, head into the socials and ask the team about it. And we've got the link to the pink sale, which is in 2 days, just under 2 days now. It's been great speaking to DeFi Ape. It was a great presentation for our community investors, so I appreciate that. And it seems a great project you're building with Univaults and the government style token. So I'm looking forward to the future for the team and the community.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us today, by the way. It's been a pleasure coming into the Wellcoin Talk and presenting our concept.
Okay, you're welcome, DeFi. Thank you very much for coming. Take care. I'll finish the record and send over a copy for you to share with your community. I'll send that into the main chat for anyone who couldn't join the call today.
Brilliant. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. And if anyone was to come in and ask any questions, I will be free in the group from now onwards. So thank you very much, and have a great evening.